You're listening to Zap Night, a video game review podcast. Join your hosts as we review video games from all systems and all genres. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Zap Night. This is episode 61. I'm your host, Danny, and today I have a very good friend of mine, Jinx, with me on the show. Hello, Jinx.
Hi, Zap.
So, this month we've been playing Resident Evil 4, and this is my first time playing Resident Evil 4, but that's a very different story for you. So what's your experience with 4? Like, have you played it since the beginning?
Yeah, basically. I can remember when it came out. I was a sophomore in high school, and everybody was talking about it. Everybody was talking about it, how scary it was, how amazing it was. I got my hands on a copy, and that was like 2005, and I periodically play it, like, to this day.
How many times do you think you finished it?
Fully beaten it? Definitely at least 100 times, seriously.
That's insane. That is crazy. Well, I've only played it once, and I had a pretty good time doing it too. But before we talk about, our experiences on playing this game, let me run down a few of the basics that we have for it. It's developed by Capcom. It was originally released in 2005 on the GameCube and PS2, and then it was re-released on the Wii in 2007, and then there was many ports to that release. So we have a port for the Xbox One and PS4 that was in 2016, and then they released it again on the Switch in 2019. There's a couple other ports of it too for the iPhone and Android, though I have no idea how you would play it on those. But in any case,
right?
So. Story. I'm going to butcher the story. I'm going to try my best. So fill in the blanks as you see that we need to. But the story kind of starts off with 6 years after Resident Evil 2, Leon is sent on a mission to rescue the president's abducted daughter, Ashley, from a cult in Spain. When he gets there, he's dropped off into this remote village where he finds all the locals to be hostile. He makes his way through the village and finds that it is under control of this cult group called the Los Illuminados, and that they have been infected with the Las Plagas, which is a parasite that is infecting the body, and it's able to control the minds of those villagers. Leon eventually gets captured and injected with this Las Plagas and is held captive with Louis Serra, who they eventually work together to escape. And Leon then learns that Ashley has been being held at the church, and he pursues to find Ashley. Now, who is Louis Serra exactly? Like, I kind of get bits and pieces of him along the way, but what do you know of him?
He is a scientist working for Sadler, and he was developing the Las Plagas. So originally they unearthed them, like they were fossils.
Right, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, he was one of the scientists who sort of brought them back to life, and I'm assuming experimented with infecting people. Okay,
so Leon eventually begins to attempt to rescue Ashley. He finds the leader, Sadler, the leader of the Los Illuminados, and he kind of reveals his plan about taking over the world. And this is kind of your opportunity to get your end goal. So his plan is to kidnap Ashley, achieved, inject her with the Las Plagas, achieved. And once he has Ashley under his control, he wants to send her back home under his influence and infect the president with a master Las Plagas, some sort of special specimen, and eventually take over the world. So once the president's under the influence, then, he slowly would try to take over everyone and rule the world with this Las Plagas.
Of course, the first step is to infect Americans, right?
Well, see, what I find funny is that America's got their own zombie issue going on at the same time. So, like, you know, I don't understand why he thinks that this is going to be that easy when they're already dealing with a very similar issue anyway. But anyway,
right.
Leon and Ashley attempt to make an escape, but quickly get swarmed by the Illuminados. They flee to a nearby castle that they find out is under the control of Salazar, who is also part of the Los Illuminados. And eventually Ashley gets trapped and separated from Leon. Luckily, because the game would be a nightmare if you had to deal with Ashley the whole time.
Those traps are ridiculous for her.
Oh, I know.
They really are.
Especially that first one, because she has to be in a very specific spot in order for that trap to work. And
exactly.
Even then, I mean, she could have lost a limb, she could have lost a head. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, I know. It was such a small amount of space. It doesn't make any sense, but
really
I mean, that's the fun of it, I suppose.
They had to separate her in some way, and that was like their best way of doing it.
They showed a little mercy.
Right, yeah, I suppose. So with Ashley gone, Leon has to obviously find her again. And he runs into Lewis, who is trying to deliver some pills and the Las Plagas parasite sample. And Lewis eventually gets himself killed by Sadler, and Sadler takes the specimen back. But Leon is able to keep these pills, and these pills are a way to slow his parasite down from infecting his body. But it doesn't. It doesn't remove it. It just slows it down, the development.
Yeah, it tries to suppress the growth.
Right. Now, Leon makes his way to confront Salazar, who's the owner of the castle, and learns that Ashley's been taken to a nearby island. Leon does kill Salazar and makes his way to the island, and he quickly runs into Krauser. Krauser. Yeah, and Ada, who is responsible for kidnapping Ashley and is ultimately working with Wesker, who's trying to get that Plaga sample. So he fights... I'm butchering this name, and I don't know why, because you've told it to me many times. Krauser. Okay.
Think of sauerkraut. Krauser.
So Krauser pursues Leon in an effort to kill him. Leon does eventually kill Krauser and finds his way back to Ashley. They go through a facility, like the lab facility within the island, and they find a specialized machine that has the ability to remove the Las Plagas from a body, which this spot was really funny, and I'll come back to that. That spot's really weird because it seems random if you don't read every single thing. Anyway, with the Plaga removed from both Leon and Ashley, Leon's able to confront Sadler without having any ill effects from Sadler's ability to manipulate the bug inside of him. Leon kills Sadler with the help of Ada, who gives him the rocket launcher.
It's a special rocket launcher. It's got a red tip.
And that's the only time that you get that, right?
Yeah. You also have to make sure you have the inventory for it. That's one thing that sort of sucks when you get to that point. You might have to discard quite a few things, but I did give you a heads up about that.
Yeah,
before the final fight.
That did help. And I mean, for the most part, when you're fighting Sadler, like, you are using up some of your items anyway. So most of the time, I think you would have the inventory space. You might just have to rearrange it. But yeah, once you get the once you get the rocket launcher, you kill Sadler with it, and you grab the Las Plagas sample, but it's quickly taken away by Ada, who escapes via a helicopter. And at the last minute, she tells Leon about the island being timed to explode, and gives Leon the keys to her jet ski, where Leon makes his way to the pier with Ashley, and they make their escape while the island's exploding. It's this big action moment, and then they make their escape, and that's pretty much it. So
It's a fancy way to go out for sure.
yeah, and that ending was pretty cool. I mean, I butchered it when I played. I ran into that fence, and then I had to do it all over again.
when you like, I saw that moment. There's one side that was open that you were obviously supposed to take, and then you took the barred one. I was like, no. I died a little.
I was so focused on the I think there was like a corner that you're turning, and it was like I could see that there was like a bridge or like a tunnel, and I'm like, okay, there's a tunnel, I'm aiming for the tunnel. So I started heading towards that tunnel. I'm like, wait a minute, it's all barred off. The second time I did it, I'm like, okay, well, I know not to go down that tunnel, there's another one. So I made it work.
Yep.
So what'd you think about the story? I mean, I know that you have way more experience with the story than I do, but what do you think?
Well, as far as Resident Evils go, it is sort of out of place. This story isn't so much told by pieces of paper. Like, it gives you some information on paper, but I don't feel like it has as much of an impact as previous games did. You sort of get calls from Hunnigan and then your actual enemies in the game. That sort of fills in some of the gaps too, but the story is a little more vague, in my opinion, versus previous titles.
Sure, yeah, I agree. This story is very much cutscene driven, and if you didn't read any of the notes, nothing really seems out of place. Like, if you just watched the cutscene and didn't read anything, you would get the majority of the story. And this is where I kind of want to bring back that the moment where you use the machine to take the parasite out of Leon and Ashley, it seems out of place because that's the only time that if you didn't read that segment of how this machine works, then when you get there, they're just like, they know what it is and they know how to use it. And it's like this big, like, I don't know, it just seems out of place. Like they're missing a cutscene in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just end up there and just know what to do, which is strange.
But otherwise, everything seemed very coherent and cohesive. I mean, there wasn't anything that I felt like I didn't understand. I mean, when you're first starting out, you have no idea who these people are, or, you being a Resident Evil, you kind of think that they're going to be zombies, but then they're not zombies. And, they're actually infected by this parasite, and I don't know, it's a very different take from at least Resident Evil 1, and it's probably just me, but like, I assumed that Resident Evil games, it's about the zombie, the zombie injections that these people have, this infection that they're getting, but then
the T virus and all the different viruses.
And like, I feel like this one is totally not that at all. Like, the US is kind of fighting their own zombie apocalypse, and then Leon is shipped off to Spain, where they're kind of doing something else entirely.
Just one guy to save the president's daughter.
Right.
Leon.
Yeah.
He can do it all by himself. They have that much confidence.
I think, well, and they kind of talk about that a little bit, where they wanted to keep it as much underground as possible, because the more people they have involved, the more likely it is to get into the media. And I don't think the president wanted it to be in the media, but still, like, you're right. They really should have had more people in this mission than just this one guy. Although, we got callbacks now to Metal Gear Solid, where they're just, everything's about to blow up with a nuke, but we'll send in this one specialty guy who can do it. But I don't know. I mean, it gives a decent plot point, Something that I found interesting was the castle section. While that was like my favorite part of the game,
that's my favorite too.
It really didn't have any like story significance other than like filler. Like, you don't learn a whole lot other than Lewis who's delivering the medicine and the Los Plagas to you, but then Lewis dies, and then that's it. Like, there's real no story significance to that whole, like, segment.
Yeah, that, the castle part definitely only had significance really with Luis and, well, the very end with, I want to call him Napoleon.
I know, because he was like a Napoleon. Salazar
Yeah.
Slytherin.
Yeah, he's in the castle, like, here and there. He's mostly just towards the end. He makes like 1 or 2 appearances before that.
Yeah, but I mean, even his role wasn't anything other than to be a nuisance. I mean,
yeah,
he
was definitely I mean, I always thought of him sort of as comic relief because he was just so funny. He tried to be serious. He tried to command a lot of, attention and power, but he just sort of
he was like a little kid. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if he actually was, but man, he was only like 2 feet tall, I swear.
I think he said he was only 20 years old in the game.
Oh, really? There was some backstory behind him that I kind of picked up on. I should have reread it, but I know that, like, there was something about the butler and how the butler was following his commands blindly, but was upset to find out that Salazar was going down this dark path or something like that. But I know that Salazar has this big backstory, but still, like, when you look at the overall story of Resident Evil 4, the castle section doesn't really fit in story-wise, but it's awesome for gameplay. So it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of odd. It seemed out of place.
I enjoyed it. I'm glad it was there, but yeah, definitely the significance in the castle scene is just for Salazar and Luis.
Right. So what did you give it for a score for story?
Since it's sort of out of place, and it's true you don't really need to read anything in order to get the story, I feel like it's a little weak with comparison to other Resident Evil games.
Okay.
So I gave it a 6.
Okay. I gave it an 8. And
wow.
Yeah, like, okay, so from my point of view, as the story, as it is a standalone game, I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed the trying to figure out what this Las Plagas thing was and what's wrong with all the villagers and, trying to kind of unravel this mystery behind it. That was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of good information in there. I could see where if you're looking at it from like an overall, like a whole, how it fits into Resident Evil, it may be out of place, but like from my point of view, I don't know. I've played 1 and I've played 4. So like as a standalone game, I thought that the story was pretty good. Again, there was a few like weird spots, but I think that's really why I gave it an 8 instead of like a 10. But, it could have been told a little more thoroughly. It could have been told maybe deeper information in the notes. Like, there was notes strewn across, but it was more of what Sadler's thinking and what Luis is thinking and what Salazar is thinking. And it's not really, like, more detail about the Las Plagas and, it's there, but it's not as deep as it could have been.
I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. This is one of my favorite games. I loved it. But my lower score, I suppose, is just in comparison to the older games. I think it's because for me, if I can get emotionally into a game, it hits harder for me. And even though I did really enjoy Resident Evil 4, it didn't make me feel sad for any of the infected. It didn't make me wonder what happened to any specific character. It just
I agree.
Wasn't as deep for me. So, like, I did enjoy it, but story-wise, it's a little, in my opinion, average.
Sure.
Even though it was great, it was a great game, but a little average in the storytelling department.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have to say, not once when Ashley got captured, which happened multiple times, was I like, oh no, Ashley, poor Ashley. It was usually like this moment of victory because, I don't have to deal with Ashley for another segment.
But you finally got a little bit of a break.
Right, exactly. Well, let's go ahead and move on to
Oh, man.
graphics. So I gave graphics a 9 out of 10.
I gave it a 9 out of 10 as well.
Nice. Yeah, it looks really good. Now, I played the Wii version, and I think that, do you usually play the Wii version too? Although you've played a lot of them.
Oh, I've played it on just about every platform. I will not play it on like a phone, but I've played it on everything else pretty much.
Do the graphics vary any between the different versions?
Yes, they do. So there's a general consensus that the PS2 version is the weakest. It's just a little more muddled, not as crisp graphic-wise. GameCube is definitely a favorite amongst most people.
Sure.
But as you go along, they have re-released the game. They re-released it for current gens, PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch, and they sort of made them look a little bit better on those platforms.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean,
But it holds up today. It's actually a really gorgeous game, especially if you examine treasures.
yeah, sure.
That's one thing I used to do when I was first playing this game on the GameCube. I would actually sit in my inventory of treasures and examine something, and I would let it just turn on my screen and just admire it. It was just fun, and I definitely loved the graphics.
It is really neat to see all the different details that they put into these items that aren't used in any overworld sense. Like, you can only see them in your inventory. You know, that's the only chance that you get to really, like, look at them. Like, some of the key items that you use, like, keys that are used for doors or whatever, you can examine them, and sometimes they kind of pop up on, your screen when you're playing, but like some items are only visible through the menu, and for them to put that kind of detail in an item that isn't really even used is very interesting, and it's neat. It's really neat to see that.
They put a lot into this game graphically. It's impressive, and it still holds up today. It's still, so many parts of it are still really gorgeous. So
I think my only complaint about the graphics were that they were a little funky when it comes to like stuff popping through walls. And like I was fighting that boss, I don't know his name. I don't know any of the names. The one that was in the suspended like platform.
the suspended cages.
Yeah. And he was walking off the edge of the platform, and obviously it wasn't affecting him because he's not supposed to be out of bounds, but like he's just walking around out there, and it was really weird. It was, it was just a strange
They're just
moment.
giving him a break. He's so big,
Like he can just hang out of bounds and just let him do his thing out there. And it just, it seemed out of place. Like, when you're talking like, it's not a big deal. It didn't affect the game in any way. It just was, there were a few weird moments like that where, enemies were popping in and out of walls.
You could see their arms through doors,
right,
their weapons through doors. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, otherwise, it would have been a 10 out of 10. But, like, when you're talking, GameCube era, even Wii era, like, it looks better than some of the more modern Wii games. Like, it came out in 2007 on the Wii, and like you look at games that came out after that, they still don't look as good as Resident Evil does. So, definitely
they really put so much into this game. This game was well made, and it's a full game. There's so many things to unlock. I feel like they're doing that less and less these days. It's more about DLC and updates now, and nobody seems to really be putting out complete full games.
Yeah.
But this was a complete full game. It's something to definitely admire.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that the size of the game anyway is something to marvel at. Like, it's really broken down into like 3 segments. You've got the village, you've got the castle, and you've got the island. And each one of those areas are very unique to each other, and they're full areas for you to explore to some degree. Like the castle area, you can roam that entire castle as much as you want. Like, you can go back and forth, and it really doesn't matter. But once you get to the island, there's no going back, So, some of those areas, it's neat to have that freedom to roam around, but like the village seemed kind of odd in that way that you can't, it's not like this open world village for you to explore. It's these very narrow segments that you can check out. But still, I mean, this is a huge game. Like, these maps are really pretty big.
Oh yeah. I mean, if anything, these games, if they're ever sort of remade, remastered, there's so much space in this game that they could actually add more things to, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's sort of empty areas that they could totally throw more enemies or just something interesting in those areas.
I could see them adding more puzzles like they do with some of the remakes that they've done so far. And I think some segments really need more puzzles. And I guess, while we're talking about gameplay, we may as well just go into the gameplay segment. The village had like no puzzles in it. And I mean, there were very few, but that's like what I loved about Resident Evil 1 is all the puzzles all the way along the way. And, I'm playing this first like third of the game in the village and I'm like, man, I haven't had like hardly any puzzles and I was getting very discouraged. And then we made it to the castle and I'm like, yes, puzzles galore and mysteries to solve. And I'm like, I'm all over that. I like that stuff.
Yeah, the puzzles that come to mind for the village before you get to the castle, there was only a few. They were all around the church. So
right, because that was your goal, really, is to find the church to rescue Ashley.
Right. They were very simple puzzles, too.
Right. Oh, yeah, there was the one in the courtyard, the cemetery courtyard, where you had to, like, figure out the different families.
On the...
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the only one that comes to mind in the village. I know that you had to go pick up the key to get into the church, but like that wasn't really puzzly.
That's definitely not a puzzle. No, the ones that I can think of are definitely the cemetery headstone symbol. One that is in the back of the church. You get the little cat's eye that goes in the beer sign.
Right. Yep.
Inside of the church, there is a puzzle, but it's sort of like a baby puzzle because it's so simple. You match up the different color projections to the center one, and that was pretty simple.
Yeah, I do remember that. It's probably so simple that I just like done, move on,
Definitely the most simple though was the symbol on the door that you just had to turn like right or left and then up. It was the symbol that the Los Illuminados had everywhere to open the door.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that too. It's, the village had very small puzzles, and I'm sure that that's partially like an introductory to what the game was going to offer, but I think that they should have been more puzzle heavy through the whole game, and that kind of fell short for me.
I think maybe that's because they did want a fresh new Resident Evil game when they made Resident Evil 4, and they wanted to implement more action and less survival horror.
They definitely managed that. There was a lot of action in this game.
Right. So that makes sense to me then that they'd have less puzzles.
Right.
Just because there's just so much more grounds to explore, so many varied things to do.
Right.
Like, just way more than just puzzles.
It is funny to me, though, that it's so linear. Like, again, coming from the limited background that I have in Resident Evil 1 is like, here's the mansion. You kind of have full range to it as long as you have a key. Like, explore, figure it out. Where this game is very like, okay, go here, do this. Go here, do this. Go here, do this. And it gives you a hallway, kill some zombies along the way, or avoid them, and you make it to the next area. So it's like, I don't know, I kind of missed that too. But again, on its own, it's not bad. It's just, it is very linear. You'll notice that.
It is definitely linear, although if you know what you're doing, backtracking can definitely prove worth your while. And sometimes when you backtrack, you sort of go off the beaten path to get to these special places where you'll get rewarded for backtracking.
Right.
So in the game, there's this area in the castle. You wouldn't have known about it playing for your very first time. So you sort of missed it. But once you get Ashley after Luis dies, you can sort of backtrack and go back to the maze area. And before you hit the maze area by the fountain, there's a door that's locked, and you have to sort of push Ashley through a window above you and drop down and unlock it for you.
Oh.
And inside is, I believe, the broken butterfly, some gold, some healing items, and a perfume bottle. That is definitely worth backtracking.
I remember that area having a handful of doors that could be unlocked. And once I made it through that maze, I just assumed that I was done and moved on. It didn't even occur to me to go back. I do know that you can get the treasure map, and that treasure map kind of can guide you to stuff that you haven't picked up. And
yeah, those are pretty useful.
When I was playing in the village, I had that map, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to get a little further, and then I'll go back and pick up some stuff. Well, after you fight the, big fish, you make it to that the other side. But if you backtrack from there, the enemies get significantly harder. And so my goal was to, okay, I beat the fish boss. I'm going to go back and check out some stuff before I move on. Well, I go back, and everybody's significantly harder. And I'm like, nope, we're just going to move on. I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to move. So,
for that part, I think that they give you more enemies because there is nothing to backtrack to, and they sort of don't want you to backtrack at that point.
I think at one point, when I did that, I crossed back over the boat, over the lake, immediately after killing the fish. I got the cutscene. It became night out, and it was drizzle raining out. And I backtrack immediately, and I got that cutscene where the dogs jumped out and grew the tentacles and whatever. And I'm like, nope, I'm out of here.
I had never seen that before. That was so crazy to see the dog with tentacles just waiting on the dock for you. That's was so crazy.
Weird. It's weird,
I've never seen it.
I've never played the game before, and I'm experiencing things that you've played 100 times and have never seen. That's strange. And maybe it was just a glitch. I don't even know. I have no idea.
Oh, no, definitely not a glitch. But what the game will do in general is assess how well you're doing in the game.
Yeah.
And it will give more enemies or take away more enemies.
So it solved it gave me a sucky rating, and it was well, we'll give you an extra little cutscene thing, and that's how I felt the game behaved with me most of the time. Oh gosh. Yeah, you suck so bad, we're just gonna give you one enemy instead of 16,
I was so surprised. There were things that happened in your game with the enemies that I had never seen before. The part in the castle where Ashley is lowering a bridge. Normally,
yeah, you have to lift her up onto the two different sides to crank the wheel or whatever. Is
right.
That? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but right before that, when the stairs come down for you to get to that area, normally there's, I think 4 or more scythe guys coming down the steps at you that throw the scythes at you.
Oh yeah, with the gold masks.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be there. I got them every time, and I was so surprised when you lowered the stairs and there was nothing.
The game was taking pity on me.
Yeah, maybe. But but that made it enjoyable. I had never seen these things in the game before.
You've never sucked so bad at the game. That's why. Well, that's what it is.
Maybe.
That's fine. No, that's fine. I'm terrible. It's cool.
You'll get better if you play more.
Yeah,
I hope you do. But that was my point. It made it so much more enjoyable to have somebody who had never played this game before. Like, everybody has played this game. So watching you play was really cool because you got to see like how somebody who didn't know anything about it would react to the game and what would happen basically. And it was really cool. And yeah, okay, it was a little rough for you in certain spots.
Yeah, and, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. But it was enjoyable. I had literally never seen some of the things that happened in your game.
That's interesting. Well, let's talk about Ashley a little bit, because she's so frustrating. She's so frustrating. However, okay, so as if there's people listening to this that's never played the game before, Ashley is basically an escort mission. And every time you have her, you have to watch her back as well as your own, and you have to make sure you don't accidentally shoot her in the face with your shotgun. That is kind of difficult because she doesn't always crouch when you have your shotgun, and I don't know why. I shot her, I think, like 3 or 4 times in the back of the head because she didn't crouch down. So anyway, it's kind of tough to have to watch her back. Luckily, she gets herself kidnapped several times throughout the game, so you don't have to constantly watch for her. But there was one segment, and there may be more, but there was only one in the game that I played, where you actually take control of Ashley and you get to roam around and do some stuff, and that was really cool. I actually really liked that. Like, there's a sense of fear knowing that you have no defense mechanism and your character runs disgustingly slow as it is. And all you can do is just roam these creepy hallways knowing that the knights are going to probably try and chop your head off, but just continuing on anyway. And I really liked that. It was a different feel for the game. Even though it was such a small segment, it was just, I don't know, it was neat.
I did like that part too. That one was really interesting. I liked the knights in particular. And yeah, when you use her, she is definitely powerless. So it was a lot of fun getting to experience that.
Yeah, and then the zombies do attack in those certain rooms, and you have to throw, or you can avoid them, or you could throw some like lanterns or something at them to burn them up. And just that strategy changes the way you think about your surroundings. Like, normally it's like, well, I could try to avoid them, or I could just shoot them with the shotgun. Where with Ashley, you have one choice: avoid them at all costs, and it just changes the dynamic of the game.
Yeah. And I can say though, like, sometimes when I do replay the game and I'm not playing on like another round of my file, playing her the first time with minimal health, like on that particular playthrough, when I do that part, it still sort of like scares me a little bit because I know she could just easily die. So it still does that after playing so many times.
Yeah,
just
I could see that.
Being defenseless. They give you an exact amount of lanterns to throw.
Right.
And
so if you miss,
you can miss them. Yeah. If you miss them, they'll still be alive. And then you have to deal with that while you try and open gates and escape.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's too bad they didn't do that more often, because that aspect alone, like, they could have utilized that in so many different areas. And I don't know, it's too bad.
It would have been kind of cool to have Ashley have maybe 1 or 2 more little segments of what she's up to or trying to do.
Yeah, that's true. Like trying to escape or, because, I mean, she's captured so many times. How hard would it have been to just add a few of those segments in?
Well, the game is huge. You're asking so much. Just kidding.
No, you're right. I might be asking a little much. What haven't we talked about yet? Oh, movement. Like, okay, so the movement is very different from Resident Evil 1. It's the over-the-shoulder camera. And, you know,
But it's still tank controls.
It's slow. I think that's the biggest problem. Like, Leon is still really slow. I do wish that they would have moved him up, like his speed up just a little bit more, or given you, a special herb that let you, like maybe some speed, drugs or something that would help you move a little bit faster for a limited amount of time. He does move
I
slower depending on your damage, but still
Yeah.
he seems slow.
Yeah, he definitely is. Tank controls definitely aren't fast in any game you play with tank controls, but I mean I'm happy with the tank controls. I'm like the one out of a million who actually enjoys tank controls. But I would have been happy if they let you sort of slowly move while you were aiming.
Yeah.
So if they let you do that, like back up while you're aiming and you can still shoot, instead of just having him like planted wherever he is when you aim, that would have maybe made it a little better.
Yeah. I didn't mind I didn't mind that you had to do the quick turnaround to be able to turn around. Um
Oh my god.
I
I
know I didn't
wanted
do
you
it
to
enough.
quick turn so many times and you didn't. It would have made things a little easier for you
I
and maybe
know.
some things a little faster reaction time. But
It's
oh,
just
I
when you're playing it, like my focus is destroy the enemy, and like sometimes just like stepping backwards and just backing up, because most of the time the enemies move pretty slow anyway. So like just backing up slowly is enough to give you a chance to reload or give you a chance to, take aim. But yeah, I could have used this quick turnaround way more than I did. But yeah, I mean, overall, the movements weren't bad. I think that they were just slow.
Yeah, they definitely were slow. Which I didn't mind. I personally don't like to say speed run a game.
Hmm.
I don't like to skip parts. I don't like to just run through it. I enjoy my games and I enjoy Resident Evil 4. There's so much to look at. There's so much to notice. They put so much into this game
Right.
and I really don't mind like just the walk or slow jog around the whole game. Like I enjoy that.
Just take it slow and take it all in as you go.
Pretty much. I never get tired of it. I've played it a million times. It still looks great to me.
Something that I liked about this game, oh, at least the port that I played, because I played it on the Wii, you get that chance to kind of always be aiming. So, even though your gun's not drawn, your cursor's always on the screen. So, like, you have that
Right.
opportunity to always be, like, prepared to shoot something, even if you're not ready to actually fire. So, you always have that sense, which it sounds like the other ports of the game aren't quite as easy with.
The
Go.
Wii version is definitely the easiest control wise, but I do think that the Wii version is actually the best because of that as well. It feels more intuitive to aim with something with emotion, with the motion control.
Right. So how do you aim with the other games? Like obviously you're not going to use a Wii remote on the PS2. So is it just like is the
Oh, it's
crosshair in
not.
the center of the screen and then you move it from there, or, how does that work?
It's aiming with the thumbstick. You ready up with, say, a back button like the GameCube version, and then you move around with the left thumbstick, and you
Gotcha.
just aim. It's harder, obviously, because with the Wiimote you can just simply point wherever you want. It's so much easier.
I'm happy that you suggested that I played the Wii version because it did make it a lot easier. Like I was really reserved about using the Wii remote just because I know how finicky the Wii remote can be when it comes to trying to aim. But once you get the hang of it, it's so easy to react to things. And
Oh
like I said
yeah.
before, the zombies come at you so slow that you have the opportunity to really get a good headshot in if you need to, even though I still
That's
sucked at
true.
it.
Well, you can always brush up on those skills with all the other modes you unlocked.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But definitely, when I suggested the Wii version, I wasn't suggesting it because it was the easiest, but definitely because the controls seem really fluid. They seem intuitive. They just seem like perfect for the game, for what it is.
Right.
Versus a controller. Even though I do love the GameCube version, the Wii version, in my opinion, is the best, just because it's so fluid
Right.
with the gameplay.
I do also really like how the items are spread out. You know, all the zombies have a chance to drop items, you know, and then all of the vases and the boxes, everything has this opportunity to drop items for you. And it feels like that, you know, I spent a lot of time with low ammo and maybe low health, but I was never like out. And that made it
Oh,
like perfect. Like I feel like everything was very leveled out, you know.
yeah. So I will tell you right now, it's because you sort of struggled with the game that the game gave you a lot more health and ammo than it would maybe normally give. I had never seen so many enemies in one spot drop green herbs. I'm I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, I'll take it. It's fine. Hey, you know what? I beat the freaking game. That's what mattered.
Yeah, I was so happy when you beat it. Seriously. I was like, yay.
I think the only moment that I wanted to blow the game up was probably the Krauser fight.
Oh, Krauser, yeah.
Krauser. Yeah, there we go. And I even had to rewatch this part to make sure I wasn't crazy. Like, because, you know, in the heat of it, yeah, it can be kind of frustrating and annoying. And, you know, when I was playing it, I was frustrated and very much annoyed. And I just wanted to quit and not play the game again. Though I have this, like, dedication to do the podcast and beat the game, so I did it. But, man, it was like it was the knife thing. Like
hard.
I was trying to knife him because that was your suggestion. Was like, okay, well, make an effort to knife him, but the knifing mechanism is stationary. Like you have very minimal movement and the timing has to be so precise that it was so much easier for me to just take him out with a couple rounds of, you know, the shotgun or, you know, the pistol as opposed to trying to knife him in those situations. Now, in hindsight, well, rewatching it again, I realized that if I just let him do his thing while he's attacking me, he will eventually run up to me and then the quick action events come up and he will do his thing and disappear. But like in the heat of it, I'm just like, die, you know, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to use all my ammo and just kill you. But that's not how the game was meant. That's not how the game was designed to be played.
Right.
And, you know, again, now that I know, it would be easier the second time, but I didn't know.
I would definitely suggest the knife the next time you try. The game actually hints at this earlier in the game when Leon and Ada sort of have their little meetup and he pulls out a knife. He tells her, next time use a knife, it works better for close encounters. Well,
oh, yeah.
Later on, you have that close encounter with Krauser, and it is all about sort of trying things out. You might die a couple times before you get the timing right, but using the knife is so easy on Krauser. You slice him as he is trying to hit you when he does his little slow pullback. You hit him and then he'll fall on one knee and then you slice him again. And you can sort of do that over and over again. And the knife does a lot of damage to him.
Well, yeah, because he's bare-chested half the time.
Yeah. So the knife is definitely the way to go. When you figure out the knife on Krauser, it makes that boss battle just easy, super easy.
Yeah, the last segment of that fight is really more so like the rest of the boss fights. Like, you just have to deal enough damage. Once you've figured out his pattern, then you can just take him down. And that part was simple. But it was everything in between, all the filler crap where he just shows up out of nowhere and he does a somersault and then he knifes you like 600 times and then he blows you away with a grenade. And it was so frustrating. And every time I tried to pull the knife out, I'm just like swinging the Wii remote and Leon's just like, yeah. And it seems so like non-significant, you know?
Yeah, before you get to the final fight with him, I mean, you wouldn't know until you started really playing it, so it's not your fault that you didn't know, but yeah, you can't kill him until, you know, the very end of that area when you do the actual fight.
And I think
So
I
he
wasted
just
like 10 rounds of the revolver ammo. I was so mad.
Oh yeah, I was screaming. I was screaming at the screen like no, like no. Because if you get the knife thing down, you can knife him when he confronts you along the way too. And once you do enough damage, he'll throw his little flash grenade and be gone, and you'll be able to kind of go a few feet to the next area.
Yeah, I think if I'd have just stuck with the pistol the whole time, I could have just used the pistol and just shot him in the head a couple times and he would have disappeared without wasting, expensive ammo on him. But again, you don't know until you've played the game that, yeah, maybe you shouldn't use your revolver ammo on this segment. But
Yeah,
it is what it is.
And definitely for Krauser, though, he moves so fast, especially when he's confronting you before the actual battle, just right and left. Using a gun is just problematic. So that's just another reason to use the knife. It's just all about timing and sort of figuring it out.
Right. So for gameplay, did we already say our scores? I don't know. I gave it an 8 out of 10. What'd you give
For
it?
gameplay?
Yep.
I gave it a 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a great game. It's a great game. I fully enjoy it. It's amazing. Just, I don't know if you realize it, but there's so many ways you can actually play Resident Evil 4. You can play with just a knife. You can play to where you sort of find spots where you can have the advantage and waste very little ammo, or you can just go ham and just explode everybody all over the place. There's so many strategies you can come up with when you play Resident Evil 4. It's got crazy replayability. The gameplay is phenomenal. So yeah, 10 for me.
and once you get through the game, you unlock all these extra modes. Like, you have the pro mode, I think, where you can replay, or you can play the game on like the hardest difficulty. But then you also have all these like extra story contents that follow, like Ada's trip through the world, and I don't know, just like other variations.
After you beat it the first time, I think you have to play it on normal. I could be wrong about that, but if you play it and beat it on normal, you do unlock pro. So then you can play on easy, normal, or pro. And what you unlock after you beat the game is separate ways, which is an Ada thing.
Yeah.
You unlock mercenaries, which is a really fun, kind of challenging, like kill as many as you can, get as many points in a limited amount of time sort of game. And you can use Leon, Krauser, Ada, just different characters. And there should be another mode too.
It's one with Ada, but it's like at a different time. All I know is that one of them, she's wearing like a cop uniform and has like, I don't know, it's very different.
Right. Yeah, she's trying to retrieve Plaga samples in one of them, and the other, she's just trying to go through doing her own bits in it. And when you see her segments, you can actually understand more of what's happening to Leon too.
Yeah, I kind of figured as much. The little bit that I played from it, she was heading towards the church to ring the bell, which in Leon's version, he is being surrounded by zombies, and when the bell rings, then all the zombies go into the church and make their way to the church, leaving him alone. So like, I didn't know, until I started playing that segment, I'm like, oh, that's why, it was her trying to help him out a little bit.
Yeah, you don't know until you play her little side missions.
Yeah, and that's a cool mode to have. So anything else gameplay wise you want to bring up?
I just think there's so many things to do in this game, just so many ways to play. Basically, I just think it's impressive what they did in 2005.
Right. Yeah. I mean, thinking of this game on a GameCube blows my mind. How many discs was it on the GameCube? Was it 2?
Resident Evil 4 should be 2 disc. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a huge map. It's a huge game for the GameCube to be able to handle. Definitely.
I don't know. They really polished this game. It's complete. It's a complete game. You really don't see that nowadays.
Right, exactly. Because a lot of those extra modes and stuff would be DLC. And now,
Yeah.
I gave it an 8. I think some of the things that could have been a little better was like, add a few more puzzles. I don't know. I guess that was my biggest complaint, is that I really liked the puzzle aspect in Resident Evil 1, and I was expecting more of that in Resident Evil 4. But like, I understand where they're going with it. It's just something that when I played that first third of the game and there's very little puzzles, I'm just like kind of disappointed. I'm like, this is just a regular like shooter type game. It improved as we went along, and I love the castle segment. I think that was like the best part of the entire game, was being in that castle, because it was very much Resident Evil 1, and that made it so much more fun. That's probably my biggest complaint, is that I really liked the puzzle aspect, and I was disappointed to see that, toned back a little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely a staple for the original Resident Evils. From Resident Evil 4 on, it's just a lot less puzzles overall compared to the originals. It's just how they decided to take the series.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yep. Well, let's go ahead and move on to music. For the most part, I thought the music was really good, but there was definitely like 2 spots in particular that I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is so annoying. Like, there was a noise in one of the songs that just kept repeating, and I was tired of it. And I think it was maybe during a boss fight or something. And I don't remember what segment it was exactly, but it was like this noise that just kept repeating, and I was tired of it. And then the crew every single time I struggle with this dude's name. Krauser, yes. During his like segment, he had some weird glitch in my game. I don't know if it's like this in all the Wii versions or in all the versions, but it was like this like crackly. It was weird. I don't know what was going on during that, but it just this
crackly, huh?
Yeah, it was terrible. Like, I rewatched it again because I was watching that fight. And
was it just a fight, or was it a whole area?
It was that whole area, because as soon as you get into that area where you have to fight him, like, that music kicks up, and it's like this gurgly bass sound, but I think it's too low for the system to handle it, because I had my headphones plugged directly into the TV, so like, my headphones can handle the noise, but then when I listen back to it on my computer, it was still there. So it was like, it was generated from the game itself. So I don't know what it was, but it was like, it was toning down the vocals, like, as, there was conversations happening, that conversation was like being muted because of the weird like sound in the background. I don't know. It was bizarre, but it threw me off and I didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed what music the game had. I don't feel like it was that varied with music, though. There's only a few spots where the music stood out to me. One was when you're saving on the typewriter.
Yes, I love that sound.
The save, very atmospheric, very atmospheric. And then the other would have to be... Well, on the island, there was music that played quite often, and that music was okay. But for the most part, it had a lot of sounds versus music in this game.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of chanting. Like, creepy chanting.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh god, you can hear chanting in the castle area when there's no enemies around, and it makes you paranoid, and you're just like, are there enemies coming at me?
That's because they like hide in the walls like 24/7.
In the walls.
Yeah, they just hang out in the walls. I liked all of the sound effects from all of the enemies. Like, some of them had some crazy scream, and I think the guys that had the taser sticks, they had some like crazy scream that they would do, but when they saw you.
Oh yeah, scary.
And then, like, all the monsters sounded really cool. Like, the slow-moving monsters that had the, like, parasites that you had to snipe out, those were, like, super creepy. Like, in general, the sounds that they made, slow, like, shuffling, moaning. Yeah, those.
That's definitely the creepiest sound out of an enemy in the entire game. I remember that enemy was, like, ever since I started playing it in high school, I remember everybody just hating the regenerators because they were just so creepy, and the noises they made were so creepy.
They are super creepy. Like, as soon as I walked into that room where there was the one generator laying on the table, I'm like, he's gonna get up and he's gonna kill me. I could feel it. I knew that that's where they were going, and sure enough, as soon as I activated whatever it was in that room, I think I turned off the AC unit or whatever, the cooling unit, and they thawed out and came to life. I'm like, oh, I'm dead. I'm done. Like, no more of that.
That part is so scary because you presumably stayed in that room where you got the special scope, and there's so little space in that room. So when he shows up, you really have to be on point with your aiming, or you're going to take damage.
Yep.
So yeah, that's definitely the scariest monster. And yeah, his sounds are just like super creepy.
Right.
So yeah, as in music and sound in general, I did give it a 9.
Okay, I gave it a 7.
I did.
Again, going back to the weird glitchiness sounds, that was probably the worst of it. I did notice that there was a little bit of looping in some of the tracks too for the background. If I stayed in an area for a bit too long, which I did because I struggled, you would notice this like lull in the music, and then it would kick back up again. So it's like, oh, there's a loop spot. And I don't like when you notice that in a video game. It takes you out of it because you're distracted by the music. I would rather there be this seamless loop to it that, yeah, it's the same sound, it's the same background music that's playing, but like it seamlessly loops so you don't notice. And yeah,
maybe I was examining my treasures too closely to notice, but I have never experienced just the end of a track and it sort of like being noticeable enough.
I'll have to send you some clips.
When it restarts.
I'll have to send you some clips because I've got some, and it's noticeable, and it's like, whoa, you notice when it happens, and it pulls you out of the game.
I would definitely like to check that out because I do not recall ever experiencing that. And when I was watching you on stream, I did hear what you were talking about with this strange sound crackling, but I had personally never come across that when I've played mine.
That's
so
weird.
I'm really not sure. I'm not sure what that is, but that has never been in any of the games that I've ever played of Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, it felt like when the Wii tried to spin up that track, it was like corrupted or something. And it sounded so weird. It was very, very strange. But, again, that could have just been a glitch in the gameplay that I had, because that's the only gameplay that I have to score it off of, so that's what hurt my music score. So, I mean, between those two things, I brought it down to a 7. I mean, there wasn't anything that really stood out to me. The voice acting was really good. It wasn't terrible.
Agreed.
I mean, there wasn't any moments that I'm like, oh my gosh, I standing ovation feeling.
Certainly wasn't as cringy as some of the previous games, for sure.
Resident Evil 1's voice acting was so bad that it was great. Where this game was like just good. Like, that's all.
Yeah, this one was definitely really good voice acting. The jokes in it, not so much.
No.
But the voice acting was great.
I also had problems with Ashley constantly like, Leon, help me, just shut up, Ashley, just be quiet. Like, I'm right here. I mean, again, I get where the game is going with it, but like, come on,
You're not important, Ashley. Yeah, she gets annoying. I think the tone of her voice actor sort of grates on me a little bit. It's not that the voice actress is bad, but the tone of it definitely isn't
It does a toll.
nice to hear. However, Leon's voice actor for 4 is my favorite that has ever voiced Leon. I think it's perfectly Leon. If I think of Leon, I think of this voice actor just talking.
What I guess I don't, I don't have any background with Leon, so like I don't know the different voice actors, but how many games is Leon even in? I know he's in 2.
Yeah, Leon's in 2. He's in 4. He's in 6.
And do they all have different voice actors?
The first one that he was in is not the same as 4.
Okay.
And I don't remember the sound of his voice in 6 because I didn't play 6 very much.
Okay.
I did not like that one.
But it's definitely different from 2. What about like the remake of 2?
He doesn't sound bad, but it is a different voice actor.
Okay. Interesting.
He was sort of given an overhaul.
I really liked Leon's voice actor too. It fit his personality pretty well.
It was perfect, right?
Yeah, it was. And I really liked some of the enemies too. Like, even though Salazar's freaking voice was cringy, like, it was meant to be. Like, he was meant to be annoying, and he was meant to be taunting, and, I liked that. That was cool.
Yeah, agreed. I honestly, I think all the voice acting in Resident Evil 4 was good. It was all good. There was nobody in particular who stood out in a bad way.
Yeah, agreed.
Other than maybe Ashley, just because she is so helpless. And you don't want to hear her, and you just want to put her in a trash can and call her later.
Yeah, absolutely. I did use the trash can mechanism a couple times. I don't know, sorry. Let me think before I talk. Do you see the trash can after the village? Because I think that was the only time that I had actually seen the trash cans that you could use.
Yes, there's other trash cans. I don't remember any in the castle area.
Yeah, I don't think there was.
There are the little hide her trash cans in the village and on the island.
I mean, you don't really use Ashley a whole lot in the castle. I think you have her for a very small segment when you first enter the castle, and then you have her for a very small segment before you fight the Salazar, like right before you leave the castle. And like that's it.
Yeah.
Which is good
because she gets kidnapped so many times in the castle. It's yay.
And I mean, from a story point of view, it makes sense because the whole point is they need her to, finish off this master plan. But still, I don't know. She gets kidnapped so many times. Although, again, from a gameplay point of view, too, I don't mind having her gone because she was just kind of annoying and tough to have to let her tag along.
Right. I almost wish they gave her an item that she could sort of maybe defend herself with a little bit or cause a little bit of a distraction or something to
what
the
would have been
enemies.
cool is if she had her own inventory that you could have given her some items to utilize, like healing items. Like, if you could just give her some healing items that she would automatically, the AI would use for you sometimes. Like, oh, hey, you're super low on health. Here's, a healing item to help you not die right now. That would be cool.
They sort of did do that with Resident Evil 5. They introduced, just like a partnership where you can give the other one ammo and health. They did it in Resident Evil 0 as well. So the AI would use bullets. I don't think they healed themselves in Resident Evil 0, but if you gave them bullets or a knife, they used it.
Yeah, that it would have been a little helpful with Ashley if she'd had that option.
Well, like Silent Hill 4 is also sort of like an escort mission type game because you get this girl named Eileen and she has a purse, right? And there's got to be a brick in that purse because she smacks enemies like the whole time you're trying to escort her around. Like, at least give Ashley something. Give her a brick. I mean, Come on. Give her something. Exactly.
For what it wasn't terrible. It's just, man, she would just get in the way. Like I said, I shot her in the head like maybe 2-3 times on accident. I shot her once on purpose.
Oh, you grenaded her a couple times too.
Oh yeah, you're right. I did, and that was on accident mostly. Yeah, there
It was just funny.
There was
seeing it
one
bounce.
time I was in that big circle room with the knights coming after
Yeah,
me.
that's when you threw it and it bounced right at her, and yeah.
She was on the other side of the door, but like it still hurt her because at some point I had asked her to come to me and she was just stuck like right at the door. So because of that, the grenade hurt her and darn near killed her too. I think she was left with like the sliver of health left.
Yep. If you breathed on her, she'd probably die.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
She had nothing left. Did you ever end up fitting all your random treasures to the right pieces, by the way, or did you sell them all individually?
For the most part, I think I got most of them. I think the Stein was the only one that I didn't combine together correctly because I missed one of the gems to pick up. But I think I missed it in like the village, so there was no going back. Mm-hmm. For the most part, I really didn't need the money. I found myself really doing pretty good on money, but maybe that was the game going easy on me. I don't really know.
Possibly. If you do it on a harder mode, if you do it on pro, you don't have to do this, but there actually is sort of a money exploit that you can do with chicken eggs.
Right, yeah, the chicken eggs.
Yeah, which I've done a handful of times. You just gather as many of the chicken eggs in this area and they reset when you go through doors. Right. And yeah, just sell them to the merchant and you can make quite a bit of money really quick if you want it for like a pro round.
Yeah, and that would be helpful, I'm sure, to upgrade as many weapons as you can to be able to defeat your enemies.
Or just rocket launchers. Just buy rocket launchers.
So, okay, yeah, speaking of, you can get the infinite rocket launcher. What the heck does that even mean? Is that like infinite rounds or it just you pick up rounds?
Yeah, you can shoot it as many times as you want.
That's amazing. So basically you could just replay the game, but like just to get the story. Like just go through the game, blow everything up. Like that would be fun. That would be so much fun.
It is so much fun. I've done that like quite a few times where I unlock weapons like that after beating it or beating the different modes, and I just go through and blast every It's so much fun.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really neat.
Yeah, so I expect you to play again sometime.
I will make an effort to play again sometime. Overall thoughts, I gave it an 8 out of 10 for overall. Overall really is like the score of how you felt like everything came together, and you know, it's kind of your chance to give some of these low scores a boost. Like for you, it was your story score was pretty low, so this is kind of your opportunity to level some of that out and to give it a score for how you think the game is as a whole. And for me, it was an 8. Like I had a really good time playing it. There was a few really annoying moments, but nothing that like a second playthrough, now that I've experienced the game, obviously it would be easier. But as like a first playthrough, there were quite a few annoying moments, but nothing that like hindered me from wanting to play the game. So an 8 was a good spot.
Yeah, I gave it a 10.
Okay, yeah.
Because to me, it's got everything. It's got replayability. It's got gorgeous graphics for its time. For its time, it was very innovative too. It was new. It caused a ripple effect of this type of game, like after it was made. Just sort of the action-y horror type games.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love this game. It's definitely in my top 3 beloved games ever. To me, it's definitely a solid 10. It's something that I feel like everybody should play.
Awesome. Yeah, and there is a ton of replay value to this game. Like, you know, now that I've played it once, I could easily pop this game in and just play it, even if I didn't play it all the way through, just to play a little bit of it. It really is that kind of game. Yeah, it's story driven, but it's like it's not heavy enough on the story that if you were to just jump in randomly, it's not going to affect anything. Like you can pick back up and just kill zombies. That's what's fun, you know?
Oh yeah. You'll remember things too, like when
Yeah.
you play it again and again. And eventually you'll learn where all the little hidden treasures are. You won't need to look at the map. It's just fun. You just choose how you want to play, basically.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that gives my total score 40. What are you at? I think it's a 44, I think.
44.
Okay. So that's a 84 out of 100. That is a solid B, which is good. I mean, that's, it has its downfalls, but like still, a B is a really good score for, I don't know, really a Wii game as a whole. Like, not too many Wii games are that good. So I enjoyed it.
It's definitely one of the best. Yeah.
I really enjoyed my time playing this game. Jinx, thank you so much for pushing me to play this game, because I don't think I would have otherwise. Or maybe it would have taken me some time to get there.
I'm so happy you did, seriously. I was so happy watching you play. It was a little frustrating. I found myself like yelling at you, while I was watching you stream. But overall, like, that's so entertaining. That's so entertaining to me.
Yeah,
so,
it definitely is a unique take on, people who have been playing this game for years and years, like you, who know the layout, they know where they're going. They probably skip a lot of the cutscenes, just going at it. Where for me, I'm playing it for the first time, and I'm really trying to get the most out of it that I can, and not lose my mind. So, I don't know. I really enjoyed playing this game for what it had to offer. I probably would play it again from time to time. I'm super curious in the other modes. I think maybe in the weeks to come, I'll pick it up and play some of those other modes. Maybe I'll play it on Twitch some more. So, opportunities for people to check it out and see what else I can bring to the table as far as experience goes.
Well, I'll definitely be on there watching it if you do play it again, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode for Resident Evil 4. The next podcast episode is scheduled to be Final Fantasy VII. I can't guarantee it's going to be, but we're working on it. So, guys, make sure you check out everything at ZapNight.com. Jinx, thank you so much for doing this podcast with me. It's awesome. You're, really, really helping support here by, being on all the streams and helping me with the podcast. So thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
And, guys, thank you again for listening to this episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one.